What's going on, guys? It's Hal. Today we're going to take a look at Nameless Gunner Jake. This is going to be the CG Jake Advanced Unit Guide. If you want to be using him right now in the 6-star meta, I'm going to show you the best way to approach him as a unit, what you're going to need to bring, how you're going to want to gear him, what are his most important skills, some good teammates, and then what he's really good at, 5-man content, 10-man content, so on and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit about how he's going to get expanded upon as a 7-star unit. So let's head into it right now. His equipment selection, he can equip guns, spears, greatswords, swords, and knives. Really the only thing that you really care about with him right now is guns, though. His armors, hats, clothing, light armor, that's enough to make the most of him. That is enough stuff. So let's go over his kit here. You'll see pretty quickly that he can pretty much do one thing effectively, and that's really what you want to aim for when building a team around Nameless Gunner Jake. So Flame Assault, Ice Assault, Electro Assault, and Light Assault are his best, and also one of his biggest downsides as skills. So the big downside between all the assaults, they have a 1.0 multiplier. So every time you use one of these skills, you're basically doing an auto attack. You're going to do negligible damage on that turn. They all have a 50% in peril for 2 turns. Okay, that's decent. That's decent. 50% bonus damage if you compare it to not having it in peril, and it's 4 different elements. Awesome there. Now he also has imbues attached to these, so he's got fire, ice, lightning, and light imbue. That's awesome. The downside of the imbues, they last 2 turns, but the turn you imbue yourself counts as one of the turns. So you're going to imbue, do a damage skill, imbue, do a damage skill, imbue, do a damage skill, and every time you imbue, you're basically doing no damage that turn because a 1.0 multiplier is as close to 0 as you can get in this game. I know it's not. I know 0.25 is like the closest you get to 0. Well, come on, guys. 1's pretty low. That's an auto attack. They also all unlock Last Shot and Fatal Barrage. They're okay. Okay, they're okay. His other skill here, though, is Force Charge. Second most popular skill. Increase LB gauge by 20 to the caster. LB gauge fill rate by 100% for 3 turns as well. If you use Force Charge after Force Charge, you're not using Force Charge anymore. It's actually Cool Force. Okay, and that also increases your LB gauge by 20 and then increases your break resistance by 100% for 2 turns as well. This is moderately important if you're trying to fire his LB off. Force Charge helps you become more self-sufficient as a unit to fire a limit burst off in case you don't have access to the proper team support to make him use his limit burst as consistently as possible. The downside with not having a team built around him is that you're going to have to Force Charge into one of the elemental assaults and then finally use your limit burst. It can take you 4 turns to be self-sufficient if you need to be self-sufficient to use your limit burst. So maybe you can do it. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Who knows? All right. You need the support. Okay. So some traits he has access to, though. We have AL type analysis up, though. This is from the short story that just came out. This is going to be there forever, so no rush doing it. It's actually extremely strong. 20% attack, 50% machine, and 50% stone killer with 50% LB fill rate. Jake wants all of these things. Go get it. It's free. It's a permanent passive. Absolutely insane there. The other important skills here, he has gun mastery, 50% attack when equipped with a gun. And then I'll show you my guts. Gives you a chance for him to survive. 100% chance, actually, if he would die when his HP is above 30%. So it's very similar to the passive that like Frivia has. It's going to save him from time to time when something goes wrong. Maybe you don't cover. Maybe he gets hit by some fixed damage attack. You'll be okay. Heal him up. Get some auto revive on him the following turn. So now, his unlock skills here, the Last Shot and the Fatal Barrage. Fatal Barrage, 2 times multiplier, ignore 50% defense. This is going to be a 4 times mod. This is very outdated. It is AoE. You can chain with it, but if you're trying to make the most out of your Nameless Gunner Jake, you're trying to double hand him more than likely. If you can't true double hand him, you're probably still going to try to put like double hand, some sort of one-handed gun or something like that. Get the double hand from the King Mog, anything like that, because you're trying to make the most out of his LB here, and Last Shot's multiplier is 5.5 or something like that. Not very good either. Now, his LB here is what he is built around as a unit. AL type light particle beam. You want to max this out, try and do damage with him. His 7 stars going to be focused around it as well, and it's going to get even better. Twice as good, even. More than twice as good, actually, now that I think about it, than it is right now. So it's a 7.2 times multiplier with a north 50% defense. So this makes it a 14.4 times multiplier. Chain finishing, 1-hit skill, very easy to land to all enemies. AoE, that's very important. It also decreases his attack and defense by 99% for 2 turns. This used to be a bigger deal than it is now, but there's a lot of units that are used in a lot of different parties. CG Nicole is one of those units who can just remove these breaks off of people. A bunch of other units like Ico and such, Yan and such, have come out as well. This is not that big of a deal, and if you do get broken by this, it's not the end of the world. Even though it's a 99% break, it's 99% of your base stat, so it's going to be like 170 something attack down. You're not going to do no damage the next turn. Plus, you're using Jake's, so you're taking like 2 turns off the next 2 turns anyhow, using your imbues. So it's fine, you know, you're good. It's fine. You're all right. So let's take a look at what kind of a build you want to be looking for if you're trying to maximize the use of your CG, aka Nameless Gunner. All right, so I mentioned it before, he does get native dual wield, but since this character is focused so much around his limit burst, dual wielding is not the greatest option for him. He doesn't really have any good chaining skills out of the gate with decent multipliers. His highest is like a 4.0 multiplier, but you have to spend turns unlocking it. The rest of his skills have 1.0 multipliers. He's not here for that. It's not going to be good at all. Plus, when you're dual wielding, your limit burst doesn't take advantage of dual wield. It doesn't hit 2 times, and it actually even only uses, if you don't know this, the weapon in your right hand. The left hand, the attack that's on that weapon doesn't even matter. The game doesn't calculate that at all. So you want to be using double hand, or even if you have access to it, true double hand going forth in the meta. Okay, so let's look at this build here. So we'll go over, you know, the stuff that's here and maybe some replacements. Machine Gun Plus is from Jean. It's a TMR, not too hard to get. The reason that this is the best one, it has lots of attack, but in addition to that, it's a 2-handed gun, and it has a 1.5 damage average variance. If you don't know what that does, it basically, on average, will give you 50% more damage just for having this gun equipped in this slot. So that's very powerful. 50% more damage is a huge boost. That's why we want it here. The head and the body piece, they don't need to be anything in particular. They just want to be the highest raw attack. What I mean by raw attack, I don't mean percentage attack. I mean attack plus a number in that slot. Marshal Glove, it's here for the raw attack and the true double hand. If you have them, great. If you don't, work towards them. If you want to be using Jake to the most of his ability. Adventure 5, Instinctual Guard, and then for the raw or the percentage at 40% their attack on those 2 items. And we have Buster Style and Tomb Raider for more double hand stuff. If you're going for a double hand build, you're going to have to swap the Machine Gun Plus out for some one-handed gun with a high attack on it, and then you have to use like stuff like double hand from Bart's. I think that's the only like double hand thing we have. Killian's Scarf's okay, maybe put that on him, but Desh's earring is usually better than Killian's Scarf. If you don't have the Marshal Glove, Desh earring is a very solid option for you as well. And then if you're going up against an enemy with a certain race, then you're going to want to put up your killer there for that race. If you're going up Beast, you're going to swap Instinctual Guard out here for Beast Killer or Dragon Killer, whatever you want, and make sure you swap your Esper there as well. So when you're building a team around Nameless Gunner and Jake, you're building a team around his AL type light particle beam. That is a mouthful, guys. And what do I mean by this? So what are some useful partners for your Jake here? Outside of the traditional stuff like tank healer support, that, you know, the all-encompassing keep your party safe, buff up their stats, give them damage mitigation. What sort of unique utility are you looking for from a character? You're looking for a good entruster. And when I say entruster, I don't mean someone who just has entrust, because a lot of units have entrust. I'm looking for a unit who has the skill entrust and their LB is very cheap. So like Santa Rosalia, Ling and Normal Ramza are some of the best entrusters off the top of my head. It's because their limit bursts only cost like 16. Titus is in there too. He's a little bit higher, but he's got a really high tide to help him fill that up. This allows them to fill their limit burst up, because when you use entrust, it's based off of the amount that is in the entrusting unit's gauge. So even though Jake's LB costs 40, and like Ramza's cost 16. If Ramza has a full bar and Jake has an empty bar and Ramza uses entrust, it's going to max Jake's limit burst gauge out to maximum. This works for any unit going forth. That's just how it works. That's why you want an entruster with low LB gauge, so it fills very fast, and you can give anyone a full LB gauge regardless of the cost of their limit burst. That's the best sort of unit that you want to be looking for as a partner for Jake. In the future, some secondary partners that would be very good are someone who can elemental imbue him. We have a decent amount of water imbuers right now. When Dash gets his enhancements, he'll have Lightning Imbue and Lightning Imperil that can let you build a team around Jake, where maybe you don't have the Entruster, but you have an Imbuer and an Imperiler for him. That way, Jake doesn't have to take turns off imbuing himself, because his imbues and stuff are very, very weak. They only last one turn. And you can use Jake to use Cool Force to fill up his own LB, get entrusted, or not get entrusted, but get imbued with an element, get imperiled with that support, and then just fire off AL type light particle beam. It's very hard to fit a chain finisher in your team, but something that Jake does very well is finish off 10-man bosses for you. All right, in a lot of certain scenarios, a lot of 10-man bosses have 1, 2, 3 different HP thresholds. You can bring in CG Jake and then the last 33% HP or whatever, and instead of having to work through the last 30-something% HP on that monster, which is usually the most difficult part where they hit you the hardest, you can just destroy that monster with one use of AL light type particle beam. And this is because usually while the last part of 10-man fights are the hardest, the first part of 10-man fights are extremely easy, and you have all the time in the world to just take Jake in there, get your Cool Force on, put him in the back, and then when the shit hits the fan, you bring him out in the last phase and you hit him with the AL type light particle beam and you just destroy him. So that's, if you want to be looking at Jake and using him in 10-man trials, he's very excellent at that very niche thing he does with his limit burst. This gets expanded upon when he does hit his 7-star form. It goes up from this 14.4 times multiplier. I think with he gets LB damage passives, which just increase the damage of his LB, and I think the base multiplier of it is 20. So after the LB damage passives, it's up to a 30-something multiplier. There's a couple of units that can do that as a 7-star. So look forward to that if you're into using our Nameless Gunner Jake, destroying 10-man trials, finishing the last percentage off of a bunch of bosses. If you want to see more stuff like this, I have other guides coming out for the remaining CG units that are the Season 2 units. We have Last Wolf, Fina, Sakura, and Lid remaining. So if you want to see that stuff, go ahead, hit the sub button, turn your notifications on so you can get notified when that content's released. Previous content, playlist section. There's not just one playlist, guys, there's a bunch. So if you're looking for team building stuff, that's their trial guides, all of that fun stuff. But go ahead, check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.